Day 55. Your breakthrough is around the corner. Being confident of this very thing, that he who has begun a good work in you will complete it until the day of Jesus Christ. Philippians 1:6. Several years before my television ministry began broadcasting in America, I received a letter from Max, a United States U.S. Navy personnel who had passed through Singapore and had a life-transforming encounter with the gospel of grace. It contained a beautiful story best told in his own words. Pastor Prince, I want to share what God has done in my life through my experience in Singapore. I cannot tell you how thankful I am to God that I was miraculously led to your church. I have been a Christian for about 3 years, but for well over a year I was in heavy bondage. Like you, I was convinced that I had committed the unpardonable sin. To me, grace was a bad thing. I knew that I deserved to go to hell under the Old Testament, and because Jesus had come and I still sinned, I felt that I deserved hell all the more. So in my heart, I wished that Jesus had never come. To make a long story short, I got desperate. I was willing to do anything to find peace with God. Unfortunately, I did not realize that my focusing on doing more for God would only lead me further away from the peace that I so desperately desired. Before long, I became very judgmental. I cut myself off from my Christian friends and even convinced a few that they were on the road to hell with me. I cannot tell you the hopelessness and misery I felt that year. In a journal entry on April 18, 2001, I wrote, "What would I not pay for someone to show me the way to the Lord, not to a religion, but to the living God?" Well, I received orders to catch a submarine out to Singapore. The first 4 days after my arrival in Singapore were spent doing touristy things. One night I went out with all of the officers to a bar. The bar was especially distasteful and I left early. On my walk back to the hotel, I prayed to the Lord desperately for some fellowship. Then, to my amazement, on the busy street I heard a man ask me, "Are you looking for a church?" Of course, I said yes to this man who turned out to be a member of your church. He gave me the directions to the church and told me there was a Bible study service the following day. When I attended the Friday night Bible study service, I was still really judgmental and questioning everything, but the message was like nothing I had ever heard before. Then on Sunday, I attended your church service and even ordered 13 of your tapes. I left that day on the submarine and I listened to Winning the Battle of Your Mind about 8 times in a row. My life has never been the same after I caught my first glimpse of God's grace. When I returned to the U.S. after only 3 weeks on the sub, my mom could see a huge change in my attitude. Where there was once depression, there was joy. Where there was once a judgmental attitude, there was love. Returning to the Naval Academy, I gave the tapes to the friends whom I had convinced were going to hell with me. The next time I saw them, they were full of joy. I pray that someday I will be able to visit Singapore and your church again. I know Marines are supposed to be tough, but my desire to fellowship with you and your church is so great that it almost brings me to tears. May God's grace and peace be with you and your family. Interestingly, 2 years after I received this email, one of the naval officers whom he had given my tapes to actually wrote to us to tell us how his own life had also been amazingly changed by the messages. Robbie also mentioned that Max had become a well-respected officer in jet pilot training. The love and grace of God had liberated and transformed him into someone who, in Robbie's words, had so much of God's love and joy in him that people just wanted to be around him. I believe with all my heart that you are next in line to join Max and Robbie. Whatever you are in need of, a breakthrough, miracle, healing, restoration, or deliverance, it's just around the corner. You may not even be conscious of it, but God has already begun a work in you, and He will surely complete it in your life. There are so many powerful truths in winning the battle of your mind. I would really like to bless you with this message. Books are powerful, but there is something special about listening to the preached word. If you are interested, please log on to josephprince.com/power to download the free audio message. I believe that this resource will help you to receive a fresh impartation of the Lord's love and grace to win the battle for your mind. Today's thought: whatever I am in need of, a breakthrough, a miracle, healing, restoration, or deliverance is just around the corner. Today's prayer: Father, thank you that I have the assurance that the work you have started to do in my life will be brought to completion by your love and power. By your grace, I will win the battle for my mind. I believe that you are working on my behalf, turning depression into joy, sickness into health, and lack into supply as I rest in your grace. Amen.